Good evening. Fellas. Well, we're still free here in the Republic. Snowy Wabash Valley. Yeah, we're in the 40s here, but no snow.
Yes, the PVC patch is amazing. This is the last run that we got of it.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. He loves this. He has it. It's all Velcro backing. And
yeah,
you can see it still looks amazing. And this one's, God, it's been almost 2 years since I've done them, but they've been highly requested.
Arizona.
They actually will come in on Friday. So everybody that pre-ordered those already have the envelopes and everything addressed and stamped. And so Friday, I'm just going to pop them in and throw them in the mail. No, Xavier, you're not late. We literally just started 50 seconds in. We also still do have the embroidered patches. Shut up, Chris. Chris has already decided tonight that he's going to have some rum from our trip from Mexico. So he's going to be in rare form.
Yeah, so I get in trouble with ATF because I have illegal Havana Club.
Yeah, we smuggled that in.
Wisconsin.
Hey, Carrie.
Aimlo.
Yeah, so he said I might have to order an extra one. Chris only got one last time because I ordered about half of what I did this run. And he was lucky he got one because they were already sold out in the pre-order. So this time I ordered twice as much, and I'm halfway out of them right now, and they're not in my hands yet. So if anybody is interested in these patches, email me at hbartachi@smallarmsolutions.com, and yeah, they'll be in on Friday.
Hey, Sean.
He's already earmarked a couple extra for himself.
Sean, the 2-day delivery. I'm sure with the holidays here, everything is being pretty much delayed.
Well, for anybody who pre-ordered Black Rifle 2, the second batch of those books went out today. They're all gone. So you guys should have gotten an email with tracking information so that you can start to track it. When I brought those into the post office, the line was almost outside of the building. It was insane. We got quite a few Texans in here tonight. Love that. Okay. Let me email here. Kirk is going to be first tonight. If you guys would like to submit any questions, you can do it in the chat box. I do randomly start to pull questions from all over the place, especially since we've been having a lot of people in here at once. We don't just take paid questions. You don't need to pay to get your question answered. But if you're wanting to donate to the chat, you can do that through Google and use the super chat button. Google does take 30% of that, which is a lot. So we recommend and prefer Donor Box. That link is on smallarmsolutions.com that you can use that and attach your question to the comment section. It works just like super chat. I get an email and you get to kind of bypass the line of questions that are coming in. So we're going to kick it off. We have a few questions that were submitted earlier. I also popped in the link for Donor Box if anybody's interested in that, or if you'd just like to make a donation to the channel. We are viewer funded.
Happy holidays.
Completely. We don't do sponsored videos. Kirk wants to know, he says, likely Barracks talk, but I've been told that a friend of a friend purchased a new CR 6940 recently. It was my understanding that the 6940 was tabled because of patent issues and royalties to LMT. Is this rumor of new 6940s wish casting, hoping something will become true by saying it out loud, or was there a resolution of the LMT Colt IP issues?
Oh, as long as Colt wants to pay a royalty to Carl Lewis, yeah, he can produce them. There's no restrictions that Colt can't produce them, but he has to pay Carl Lewis. So, you know, it's just like with Canada with the IUR, they can still produce the IURs, but they got to pay for it. So Colt has certainly done their best to get away from that, trying to go with something they don't have to pay money on. But yeah, they can certainly still make them without a problem. They just got to pay for it.
This guy Joe up there says, I heard Texas is drawing up papers to separate from the states. Do you think it will happen?
Yeah,
it's always been a running joke that Texas will leave. And in fact, Chris has a shirt, and I think you still have that shirt about seceding. So it's always
there's a lot of states that are talking about that right now, actually.
Ivan on Donor Box. Thank you, Ivan. I was wondering if you have any experience with IMI systems, in particular their Mark 262 Mod 2 clone.
No, I can't say as I have. That's a company I haven't really dealt with yet. I do want to say something. You guys have reacted very well to the Magazine, the Black Rifle Parts 1 and 2. Well, we decided to do a Part 3. I put out some requests for some of the really early GI magazines.
That means I put those requests out.
I had requested some from several of you guys. Several people have already said they would send me some magazines. The ones that some of the ones I was
we've
missing.
had some incredible viewers, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to Chris about this yet. But I've gotten so many emails today. There's like 5 packages heading our way from people that are going to make sure that we can do this.
So
Part 3.
Part 3 is going to be going over the U.S. government magazines going way back to the 60s. All those obscure GI contractors. We're going to be going over what my particular favorite ones are, plus some of the ones that I didn't have. And there's a couple updates too, to that as well. So you're going to be seeing a Part 3.
Daniel on Donor Box, thank you, Daniel. He says from the this is for the Q&A. Is there a quick detach optic mount you would trust for a reliable return to zero, or would you always recommend a fixed mount? What fixed mount do you think is best?
Well, fixed mounts are always the best. I think the best QD out there is probably the ARMS. It's been utilized by SOCOM since the early days of the Global War on Terror. My particular favorite and go-to QD would always be ARMS. There's several companies out there who make QD ones now, but for as far as fixed mounts, I mean, there really aren't really bad fixed mounts. They're as long as they don't move and they're made properly. I have several different manufacturers. My favorite mount on the face of the earth will be and always will be Spur. Spur makes the best mounts that are in existence. You're going to pay for them, but you really want a Swiss watch. There you go.
And our last one from Brian on Donor Box. He said, this month I ordered from Brownells 3 gold Colt extractor spring assemblies for my AR-15 carbines. Do you know if these particular Colt extractor springs from Brownells are genuine Colt, that is, or still made in-house by Colt?
Those springs were never made in-house. Colt, you have to understand when I talk about the mil spec making guns in-house, there are certain parts that are made in-house. When it comes to springs, roll pins, and fire control groups, those are different machining processes that are done outside. So you won't see any manufacturer who makes their springs, really that I know of. There's all separate companies that do that kind of stuff. When you look at Colt as a TDP or as a U.S. government contractor, they manufactured the major components that were critical to the reliability, which were the barrel assembly, the barrel extension, the front sight base, the bolt carrier, the carrier key, the extractor, and the bolt carrier, and most times the lower receiver. Those are the parts that were critical to the assembly of the rifle. Of course, Colt doesn't make plastics, so that's a subcontracted part. But every single one of those subcontracted parts that would come in had to be verified once it came into the company through their metrology department and through their QC, because they had to answer to a U.S. government inspector who has to prove that all these parts are in compliance. So when we talk about made in-house, they don't make 100%. They make those critical components where those tolerances are significantly are most important for that gun to work properly. But your spring, as long as you got it from Colt that has the proper color on it, I can't imagine there's anybody out there who's been who's copying that. For the most part, it's an additional. It's a 5 coil spring. Those are you're fine with that, absolutely.
What is your favorite DPMS low pattern rail?
Don't have one because I don't have any. Mostly what I have is all standard, AR-10 type. The only DPMS gun that I own, or even that pattern, would probably just be my my Gen 2 Recon. Everything else is standard AR pattern. I tend to prefer the AR-10 pattern over the DPMS because it's stronger. If you look at the history of the gun going back and why they're made the way that they are, it tends to be stronger than it is with to DPMS. So it's generally the way that I've always gone. The only exception probably would be Brownells. I'm sorry, Aero Precision. Aero Precision does make some very, very nice rifles that do utilize that.
What prototype do you think will win the next generation Army trial for their 6.8 rifle? SIG, Textron, or GE?
It's very hard to tell. There hasn't been anything really public made about the testing of those. I would expect those are going to go through real testing, unlike the M17. It's going to go through a complete, phase 1 and 2 testing, and then competitive bidding. But you're looking at a whole new system here. You're not just talking about a new rifle. You're talking about new ammunition, or a new ammunition sort in some of these. So the information really hasn't been made public of how they're going. So it's hard for me to offer you an opinion of which one's better, because I don't have any access to them, nor have access to the information. They haven't released any of it.
There is lots of conversation going on about the new ATF ruling on pistol braces. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Well, the problem right now is with ATF is they are basically they're changing their rulings. They're changing their criteria, which I have a serious problem with, because just like we talk about, the slide stocks for the rapid fire, there's a definition for full auto. We've talked about this in the past. For them to try to redo a definition for that, and quite frankly, this is that slippery slope. We're going to start reclassifying and making what you have further and further illegal. And then when we start mandating, NFA for all these things, you're now getting into that whole situation where you're getting into a registry, and the registry is the problem we can't do in this country. We're in dangerous times, people. We are in very dangerous times right now with the new coming administration, with all the promises they're making for anti-gun laws. A lot of people are concerned right out the bat. Anybody who's bringing in guns from overseas, my good friend Brandon over at the gun room, he's got some guns on order from HK right now. Biden could come in and do an executive order banning all importations of certain types of weapons. And then, boy, he'll never see those guns. That's the first area where I'm really worried about, is where he can do executive orders on, which would be those kinds of bans of importation. Then, of course, if we do lose the House, Senate, and the White House, we're done. The Second Amendment's done, and then this whole part of our Constitution's done. We are in a critical time right now of uncertainty. And unfortunately, I'm quite worried. But that's pretty much all I want to get into with the politics end of it, because there are many people out there who do put the full political things, who probably are far more educated on that aspect than I am. So it's I'll give you a little bit of my thoughts on that, and get back to what I know best, which is the technical aspect of it.
The robotic vacuum cleaner was wreaking havoc. So. Fernando on DonorBox, thank you. Do you have any experience with Terran Tactical or any other aftermarket Glock extended floor plates? If so, would you consider them or any other floor plate reliable enough for duty use?
The only ones I've ever messed with were Centurion. You have an aluminum plate going on a plastic magazine, and of course the Glock +2s that go on there. Quite frankly, I would stay with the plastic +2s. That's the best way to go. Plastic on plastic, you have less issues with wearing. And quite frankly, when it comes to duty use, I stick with OEM as best as I can. I don't like putting anything in there that's not OEM, especially on a handgun.
Joey says he found the channel by searching for magazine reviews. He loves the channel, and thanks for sharing all the knowledge.
Thank you.
If you didn't hear before, we're doing a 3. So
yeah, you guys had asked for some additional things.
Yep.
Again, you're trying to get every magazine that's been made over the last 60 years is damn near impossible. I had really a good selection. We've already gotten the ones that I am missing. I've already gotten.
We have a few that haven't been accounted for as far as to include. That list is on like the feed for YouTube.
I'm hoping to buy some of those ones that are being loaned to me too, because there are some future things I'd like to do. Wouldn't mind doing something on evolution of the polymer magazine, going back to the original ore lights and all that kind of stuff there, and seeing some of the real crap that was out there, like Ramline and things like that. It's amazing how I had access to this stuff when I was younger and never thought million years that it would be valuable for anything, history or anything else these days. But I wish I would have kept some of that older stuff that was garbage.
I do too, because as you gave me this list and people started coming in, Ethan was like, can you see if he's willing to let me buy that?
Yeah, well, a lot of the older GI magazines, I was always fond of the Adventure line, and of course they had Parsons, Cooper, Sanchez, LaBelle, and all those. And I even knew back then at 15 years old, 16 years old, that there's certain ones to stay away from, and I avoided them like the plague. So I stuck with the Adventure line for the most part, never bothered with anything else. Well, of course now back then Cooper, all that stuff was everywhere, and I avoided it. So now, not knowing all these years later I'd be doing this.
Oh, Joe's in here too. He's the one who sent the beta Pmag.
Awesome.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, Joe, I hope you don't get too upset about what I'm going to say about him, because I've had no good luck with him over all these years. Even at Colt, we had a hell of a time getting to work with a lot of the guns. Talking to other manufacturers of how they've had to modify those things to get them to work properly. They've always been a nightmare. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have had good luck with them. It's like anything else. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys who disagree with things that I said. You've had good luck with certain magazines that I've had bad luck with, and but I'm only going to report to you guys on my experience and what I've found. I don't really report to you guys on what other people find. So that's the information that I'm going to be conveying to you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the list and we'll pop it into the chat. A couple of these, this isn't an updated list. A couple of these we have. But if anybody would like to download, we just need one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of came all together in one line. So sorry for that. Ramline, Swamp Fox, Syntax. I think we have the Cooper and the Bell. And I think we have, it all came as one word. And I think we have the Swamp Fox, but I'd have to check. But those are the ones so far that we're missing. Is LMT MRP, piston or DI, more reliable and durable than an HK416?
Well, I have to tell you, you're going to be seeing a video coming out first part of next year. I'm not sure, probably February or so. We're going to see a thorough rundown on the LMT external piston line. Now, when you look at the two systems, they're quite different. I believe the LMT system will last longer because it doesn't beat the hell out of itself. Lower cyclic rate. You have to understand that there are places throughout the world. In fact, Estonia was one of them where HK was part of that, and they were beat out by LMT. So the LMT does not have the combat experience by no means that the 416 does. This is really LMT's first contract utilizing their piston gun, the external piston gun, because quite frankly, nothing wrong with the internal piston. They've worked great. This is the first time that LMT was really even asked for it. Looking at the two designs, they're both solid designs, but if you want to know which one has the combat time, it is the HK. That's been around for many, many years. And it equips very large armies. There's a lot more combat experience, but then again, there's also lessons learned from the way the damn things beat themselves up and overgassed, and they have some other issues that go along with them. But if you're looking at the price for price, LMT certainly going to be a much better deal for you. Also, for as far as the 416 and the Marks, the MR556A1, you're looking at complete proprietary guns there. So you have to also look at our times we're in right now, where you're looking at ban of importation and things like that. Those HK parts, a vast majority of them are all coming in from Germany. If an executive order gets signed that states that there's no more importation, now all of a sudden these guns that have come from overseas, now you're gonna have a hell of a time supporting them with spare parts. So those are things to start thinking about when you're buying guns at this stage of the game.
Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. James on Donderbox, what's the point of a 223 Wildy chambering when a 5.56 chambering can effectively shoot both 223 and 5.56?
Well, the theory behind the 223 Wildy was to have the dimensions that a 223 shoots 223 better, a 5.56 shoots 5.56 better. Having one that'll bridge the two of them will shoot both of them just as well. That's the theory behind the 223 Wildy. Now, have I seen that? No. The kind of shooting that I do is, is with a combat type rifle. Do you see that? No. Maybe you see it more with precision type shooting. But you also understand everybody's trying to, get their name in there to have something special. There are some companies who do believe in it. But that's the whole premises was to have something that would do. You wouldn't have to have one to shoot. You would have to have one round with one barrel to shoot better. You could shoot both calibers and get the same results. That's the theory behind it.
Any opinion on Magpul Mo handguards for rifle length barrels?
They're definitely better than anything you're going to get from the OEMs. I would definitely take a Magpul Mo handguard over the standard M16A2 handguards in a heartbeat. They're much more comfortable. They're better made. They have the ability to accept the M-lock. I would have no negative to that, at all. Again, you're looking at a different alternative than a expensive aluminum or rail. You're looking at something that's reasonably priced. That's going to protect your hands from the heat, which obviously that's going to do better than one of these aluminum ones is going to do. You don't get, the only thing you're not getting is the free floating, but you're still getting a lot of the good feel. You're getting the heat resistance, and you're getting the ability to add accessories to it.
What's your thought on the Pmag 25 M118 Lrsr Gen M3? Preference on others for Aero DPMS pattern mags?
Well, the one you're talking about, that Gen 3, that was designed specifically for the M118 LR. The overall length of the M118 LR is longer than that of the standard M80 ball, and it was found with some types of ammunition that the standard Pmag, for the SR25 type, had rounds that were getting caught. So they made the front a little bit thinner in thickness to allow for some more room for the longer projectile. That's the whole point behind it. Now, for as far as your particular gun's concerned, if it takes an SR25 type magazine, it should take all of them. Now, the one thing that you will see some lower receivers that are undersized, which they may have some magazines that don't fit or that don't drop free, or vice versa. I have a couple magazines here that I have certain rifles that they'll drop free and certain ones that they won't. So it all depends on the stack of tolerances. Are you up on the higher end? If you're on the higher end of the magazine, well, you're going to have some. It's not going to drop free. But pretty much any magazine that you want, you always want to check to make sure everything's working right. Before you choose a particular magazine.
Would you recommend an LMT 6.5 Creedmoor over a SCAR 20S and 6.5 Creedmoor?
Oh, absolutely. First off, you have the full free floating barrel. Second of all, you're going to spend less money on that versus the SCAR, where you decide you want to swap out and go to a 308 barrel or something else. You can do that. The SCAR is a nice rifle. If you have really deep pockets and you just can't live without it, it's fine. Is it going to do anything for you that several other of these rifles won't? No. Is a SCAR going to do anything for you that the LMT or SR25 won't? No. But you're going to have the ability to go with multiple different barrels with LMT that are available here in the U.S. Where you're not going to have that with the SCAR. SCARs, those guns are made in Belgium, and the barrels that are here, you have very little options. And if you do, the barrels cost you more than most entire guns do in the AR-10 platform. So, that really wouldn't be a decision for me. That would be hard at all. I do own both, but I don't have a 20. I have a standard 17S, and to have a longer handguard and a longer barrel, what they're charging for is just sick. It's especially now.
Mike on Donnerbox. Thank you, Mike. He says, hope you have a wonderful Christmas holiday celebration. Thank you. Is shooting 7.62 in a 308 chamber about the same as shooting 223 in a 5.56 chamber? And what is the reliability?
No, they're different. If you look at a 5.56 versus a 223, the 5.56 is hotter. If you look at the 308, you're looking at the 7.62 as being the lighter round, where the 308 is being the hotter round. The issue really comes down to what rifle that you have. If your rifle is self-regulating and it has a chamber for a 7.62 NATO, it's set up for the pressures and chamber pressures and port pressures of that caliber. Now you get into commercial rifles. Well, commercial rifles, they have to have things that will work with across the board. So you have rifles that are a lot more sensitive. For instance, my BRN a BRN10 that I have here, that is a 308 chamber setup for 308 high power ammunition. It does not like 7.62, this lighter port pressure. I have some problems with it. Some rifles, most rifles are chambered that you're going to get commercially are all chambered for 308, which is a hotter round, which means they will work ideally with that. Most of them will work good with 7.62 as well, but sometimes you may need to stay with 308. You know, that's the hardest part here is in the commercial market is you have all this different kinds of ammunition. It's so much easier to build a military rifle where we have a 5.56 nano M855 ball, and we're going to be building the entire gun around that, where we have a set chamber pressure, a set port pressure. We know exactly what to expect in environmental conditions, so we can make those adjustments. So we can make one gas port that will work in all conditions for that specific round. Now, when you go to the commercial world, where we're looking at 223 lower pressure, we're looking at just stuff across the board where the numbers are up and down. Any of you guys who mess around with adjustable gas blocks and you custom tune, you see regularly that there's an issue with having to always adjust up and down depending on what ammunition that you put into. That's the problem that comes with trying to make these guns in the commercial market, is you don't have a set of specific criteria to deal with. You're trying to deal with just a complete array, and it's very, very difficult to do that.
Nathaniel, will LMT ever sell their external piston NWS?
Yes, they will. In fact, I've talked to Carl Lewis about that quite recently. I'm trying to get a barrel assembly and a bolt carrier from him. And he says, after they get done with the Estonia contract, that's something they're looking to do. He doesn't have an exact time schedule, but yes, you will see it. You can certainly bank on that.
I do roll all the way up to the top to pull questions too that haven't been paid for and haven't been answered. If you put your question in here 20 times, it's not going to get it read any quicker. In fact, it's going to annoy me, and then I just won't read it.
And you're going to make it difficult for her to keep track of
where I'm at, because I'm managing a lot of questions. Any suggestions on a build for a Gen 1 ATI poly lower?
Where got it?
Right here.
ATI. The Gen 1 poly receiver, I probably would take that and throw it out. Those are not a durable safe. I would be replacing that with an Omni with the new one, because the new ones are just as good as any aluminum ones you're ever going to see. The original ones, they have issues. The back ends do break easy on them. They're designed for any upper receiver, so technically they should work with any one of them. They're not a durable lower receiver. For how cheap it would be to replace it for like $40 or $50, I guess it would be to get a new production Omni. Dude, I'd replace it. I would replace it with a new Omni.
To go along with the Feeding the Black rifle series, what are your thoughts on keeping magazines fully loaded for long periods of time?
Well, for the most part, it's not a good idea. You look at just the whole point of what Magpul does with the caps on those is it pushes the first round down so you don't have anything pushing on the feed lips. Believe it or not, a lot of these polymer magazines are better because they don't split. They don't have welds that break. The GI magazines that you see, those again were designed as to be thrown out. They weren't designed to be used over and over again, but those have more problems generally due to the fact that you have spot welds that will break, and once one or two spot welds break, now everything starts pushing to the side. You start losing rounds off the top. If you want to have magazines that are going to stay loaded for long periods of time, go with something like a Pmag with a cap on them. You can store those suckers indefinitely. The magazine spring does not wear from being loaded for a long period of time. What causes those things to, what causes springs to wear is the constant up and down use. It's not them being stationary. So if you want to go with a good magazine that's going to stay loaded, the Pmag, that was one of the premises from which it was designed.
What do you think of the new Colt Canada C20 SAS?
Basically, what it is the Colt LE 901. The Canadians have been throughout their history, going back post World War II, from their C1, they have always been ahead of the United States for as far as being able to select proper weapons and proper configurations. They did that with going with the FAL versus us going with the freaking M14. They were smart and they went with the proper FAL. Their SARP program came along. We had an excellent rifle, the M16A2, but it wasn't right. They looked at it and they said, we don't want that stupid ass rear sight that is designed to make a rifle shoot at distances that it wasn't designed for. And it's going to complicate. It's going to cost additional $80 per rifle. We're going to stay with the A1 sight. We're going to stay with the benefits of the new M855 or SS109 cartridge. We're not going to go with that stupid ass burst mechanism, which is going to decrease our firepower on the individual level and totally eliminate the whole reason why we selective fire small caliber rifle to begin with. And then they also looked at it and said, we're going to take the TDP of the M16A2, but you know what? We're not happy with it. We want our own barrels. We don't want, we want Colt hammer forged barrels. We know the benefits of having a Colt hammer forged chrome line barrel. We're going to come up with our own barrels, and we're going to do our own barrel dimensions completely separate. They were able to always look at those things and do what we should have done and gone with a more practical rifle. And Canada has never been driven by tradition. They've always been driven off of what's best for their military, and I commend them for that with all of their rifle programs that they've had. When they went for the first sniper rifle, LE901, excellent rifle, proven rifle. Wouldn't break the bank like what we just wasted all our money on with that H&K rifle. That was the cost of that. The fact that it's made by a foreign government when we had something that was available to us, internally. Again, Canadians did an excellent job. The 901, although it hasn't had any success here in the U.S., the Canadians have taken it. They've made some of their own modifications to it. The Canadian government has set their requirements, and they've met it. Much better rifle, I think, than what we ended up with here. I even think we would have been better off with the Knights here than we were the German one, the HK. Of course, I would like to have seen an LMT, even the LE901. The only problem with the LE901, no, that wouldn't have been because there was that wouldn't have been the LE901 would have been an excellent option. The LT would have been. Canada just did it right. I think that was an awesome rifle for them to choose, and they're going to be very happy with it.
Did we do this one?
Yes.
Okay. I know I'm probably late, but might you have any info on the ATF DOJ brace letter that some people have seen?
No, I don't. I've glanced over it. If you go on the net and you look at the Military Arms channel, Tim's got a lot of stuff on that. He did
post a video tonight. Yeah. He live from his car. I think it was like 8-minute long video.
Yeah, Tim's going really into that on his videos. I would definitely put you over to him because he's got his hand more on the political end of a lot of the stuff than I do.
Colt law enforcement restricted rifle at my local pawn shop missing a gas block, priced at $10.99. Should I buy it?
Well, the nice thing about that rifle is minus not having the gas block. That is which if you want to talk about the original Hartford Horsey made LE6920s, there you have it. That's going to have all the parts that were made actually in Hartford. So for $10.99, I think that's an awesome deal.
Lots of people are saying they want to buy it. If he doesn't,
I would just go buy a gas block, take it to somebody to have it drilled and pinned back in place, and you're back in business.
There you go.
Good price. Yeah.
Raymond on Donor Box. Thank you, Raymond. Is Geisley the best trigger upgrade because of the mil-spec hammer spring, or are there other options?
Well, let me tell you this. If you like two-stage triggers, Geisley is top dog overall. For as far as changing the hammer springs, I would stay with a traditional mil-spec type hammer spring because that's what's needed to set off the harder military primers. A lot of times when you start trying to decrease your trigger weight, that's the first thing you do is try to do a decrease the hammer spring weight. Well, the problem with that is you decrease your hammer force, which you could have failures to ignite. You could have light strikes. That was where the gentleman from Hipperfire came up with his dual toggle spring. He actually designed it so you could have a extremely light trigger without compromising that, which is why he did the design he did. The difference is the one that Hipperfire did was a single stage versus a two-stage. Now, there's nobody else I will out there to say that will beat Geisley on quality of a two-stage trigger. Centurion's got a really nice one out now that he's using now as an alternative. I've got one of those. I actually would have no problem recommending that one either. That's a very nice two-stage trigger that he's putting out. There's a lot of options out there. You really want to take a look at who's used in the industry overall, who the professionals are using. And unfortunately, but Geisley tends to always come out on top.
And somebody has a question following from that. Do Geisley triggers have binding issues?
I haven't seen that. I have probably 30 or 40 Geisley triggers in various guns I have here, and I've never heard of that. You install them correctly, you shouldn't have any problems at all.
Leo on donor box. Thank you, Leo. Looking at budget AR-10 in 6.5 Creedmoor, you had a nice thing to say about the PSA Gen 3 and Diamondback DB10. Would you choose one over the other, and what is your suggested barrel length?
Well, for 6.5 Creedmoor, I would absolutely go with a 22 to 24 inch barrel. That's where you're going to get your main benefits. You don't see a lot of people coming out with 16, 18, or even 20-inch barrels on a Creedmoor. That's just because of the way the propellant burns in that. For your best results, the 22 to 24 inch. The two that I have here are 24 inch. Now, looking at PSA versus Diamondback, well, that's really hard to say because both of them are excellent performers. Yeah, you're really talking apples. You're apples and apples here. These guns are extremely comparable. Both companies manufacture a lot of their parts in house. Palmetto will probably be a little bit cheaper. I think whichever one you prefer the feel of. I think for as far as quality is concerned, I think you'll be happy with both. I've used both, and I really can't fault either one. For that price point, I think you probably go with either one.
You guys are too much. Xavier says he always feels like a newbie when I watch the videos / live streams from you guys. Makes me realize I still have a lot to learn.
We all do. I learn every day too. It's anybody who thinks they know everything is full of it, because I learn things on these as well. There's new products that are out there that I just learn about. This is where I learn about them from. This is if you're not constantly learning anything, you're in the wrong game. I mean, we constantly evolve. There's always somebody who's got more experience with one thing than you.
He'll be the first one to tell you that he doesn't know everything too. He's either one characteristic Chris does not have is being cocky or arrogant. He never has been. We've been together for 23 years now, and the one thing that always made me, try to talk him into YouTube, and he didn't want to do it, was that he could draw a crowd at, a range, and people that, didn't know him, they were interested in the kind of guns he had, and then he'd start talking, and then he could hold them there and Well,
one thing, and in fact, I told this to somebody who tried bullshitting on one of our, with something he said on one of our videos. I was given some very good advice by my trainer when I was training to be a forensic firearms examiner. And Reg told me, never bullshit. Hey, because you as an expert, you're going to go on there, and what you say is supposed to be gospel. There's always somebody out there who knows more than you do. But the first time somebody catches you bullshitting or you lying, you're going to lose all your credibility, and you're done. And I've always taken that to heart. There are, we could be talking about a subject out there that one of you guys knows more than I do, and you hear me bullshitting, you're having respect for me. So I'm not going to tell you if I don't know what I'm going to tell you.
That was always the fear that he had testifying in court. He would always say that every single day. He would come home and be stressed out because he's like, I know my stuff, but it's like, you do so many cases every single day. And
they could ask you something they could ask you something that's totally irrelevant to the case that you have or anything. They could ask you anything. Once you're on the stand, they could open up to anything. And like I says, you don't. That's the quickest way to lose your credibility. If you don't know it, I don't know. I'll find out.
Because the first thing they do when they put you on the stand is to verify that you are an expert and you can talk on that. And one of his extra kind of, I don't know what you called it, Chris, certifications or whatever, but with the AR-15 in particular, he was like, it was an extra credential in a way.
Yeah, Black Rifle, all the book and everything was always extra.
Yeah.
That's something else that,
They would try to trip him up, though. They would try to say stuff, and then they would be like, "Oh no, we can't."
What they would do too is when they saw my credentials, the first thing they want you to do up on the stand is they want you to go through your background. And a lot of times the defense would just say, "I stipulate to that," because they don't want the jury to hear that, because the more they hear about your background, the more credibility it gives you.
Yeah.
So they don't want you to speak. They just want to shut you up. So they say, "We stipulate to your qualifications."
Yeah. Adnan on donor box. Thank you so much, Adnan. He has two questions. Back when LMT as well as LWRCI first started development of their AR-10 rifles, the LMT 308 MWS and Reaper, did both companies start out by testing 1950s AR-10 magazines before utilizing the modern-day SR-25 pattern of magazines.
Oh no, the SR-25 came along before those other ones did. So they had an established magazine, both of them. The only one that ever messed around with the original SR-25 magazines was Knights, and it found very quickly that those aluminum magazines that they had were not sufficient. They weren't durable enough. They weren't reliable enough, and that was one of the things that Gene Stoner always regretted, was trying to build around that magazine, because that magazine wasn't designed to be used over. We talk about that with the same thing with the AR-15. They were designed to be preloaded magazines and discarded, unlike how they ended up being used was over and over again, like an AK magazine. That probably was one of the issues that I think that Stoner did regret, was not going for a better magazine.
Did Kerry leave us? I haven't seen him in here. He was here for the first couple minutes.
The champagne was probably starting to get warm, so he could put it back and have the Air Force defect get him a more.
Regarding Colt Defense, when they had a plethora of cash flow from their initial military contracts and sole source of the M4 carbine during the early years of the GWOT, the Global War on Terror, was Colt in a similar situation during the early years of the Vietnam War with the M16 rifle, of gaining influence on government contracts at the time?
They did, but the problem with Colt in all those years was the board and the shareholders sucked the money dry out of them. They never invested money back into the company, so the company never had money to advance. And plus, that was the whole purpose of the management at Colt, was to please the stockholders. It wasn't to improve the company or make the company successful. It was to line the pockets of the stockholders. Which was a lot of why you have the failures with Colt. That goes back since probably the turn of the last century, even around the World War I, the early 1900s with the company. They always had cash flow coming in, but the money never went back into the company.
Kerry isn't here.
Oh,
he's just being quiet. See, you're missed and you're thought about, Kerry.
Probably watching Top Gun.
Okay, we did that one.
No, actually, Top Gun will be Navy. He's probably watching Iron Eagle.
Yeah, he's going to correct you on that one too. What kind of paint did Demaco CA forces use on their C7s and C8s to get them green when they were transitioning from black to green?
I have no idea. Last I knew that when they went from the C7s to the C7 or some C7 A1s to the C7 A2s, the midlife upgrade, that was that was a green polymer for the stock and the pistol grip and the handguards. Anything prior to that would have just been spray paint. I can't imagine anything other than just plain old spray paint. It's funny, you look at a lot of the stuff that the military does, and you think that there's some kind of a magic potion to all this stuff, or magic super secret. It's freaking spray paint they buy at freaking Lowe's to get them these colors. The military's not spending all the money on Cerakotes and all that kind of stuff. But I can tell you for sure that with Diamondback, with the transition to the C7 A2s, the midlife upgrade, when everything turned green, that was green polymer.
Wasn't the M110 more expensive than the HK MR 762? Big difference, at least in the civilian market. I paid $25,000 for my M110 and $6,500 for the HK.
No. Military cost versus commercial cost is totally different. It's always a lot more for the civilian end of it. But no, the military spent a lot more money for the HK over the Knights.
Hey, Pistol Pete.
Hey,
haven't
Pete,
seen you in a while. I know. I always remember our regulars. Oh, someone asked in here. You'll appreciate this question because he's going to give me shit for it. I don't think I can find it, but he wanted to know what your favorite barbecue place was.
Well, really, Rudy's here right now. We haven't got any of these really small.
Yeah.
You haven't got any of these smaller ones, yes, Iron Eagle. I figured.
Yeah, Iron Eagle. That's what he said too. Yeah, he actually really loves barbecue. You know what I thought about today though? Some of you guys don't like to listen to me talk. I'm sorry, but when I went grocery shopping, I didn't even tell you this, Chris. There was a moment, because I'm a Texan. I was born and raised here.
Yeah,
I love,
she
I love to tell. I love to tell him that. He hates when I say it. But I
it
love.
was always a dig that that I'm a transplant versus.
Why
her
do you
being
think that
real.
they have stickers that say "Born and Raised"? They're worried about. We're worried about the Northerners moving
I
in
am
and
more
like trying
Texan
to
than you
change
are.
the bullshit. Well, anyway, I'm a Texan, and I lived in New York for 11 years, and then we lived in Milwaukee for 5 years when he got his first job being a forensic scientist. And coming back and being in Texas now for about almost 6 years. We're coming up on 6 years. So today, when I was grocery shopping and I was getting some stuff to kind of get ready for Christmas, like meal and prep and stuff like that, and all of a sudden I see this big end cap. You would have loved it. They brought in all the briskets, but you know what was right next to the brisket? Cases and cases of beer and an end cap of pork rinds. And I was just like, welcome to Texas.
Yeah, I'm more Texan than she is. You look at my
That's
my values and my
Oh
everything
my
about me.
God.
I am as pure Texan as they come.
Okay. But you sound like a Yankee.
Mm.
Just saying. Thoughts on the PVS 9A versus PVS 27 and PVS 30 NV clip-ons in general?
Back in my day, when I was active duty, we didn't have access to that stuff. That was mostly squad leaders that had that. It wasn't until much later here where stuff was issued in general. So I never really had a lot of experience with it. I did. What I did, I have a PVS 30 here for a while. I got to go out boar hunting. Wild boar hunting. Unfortunately, my health made me realize it really wasn't going to happen. So I sort of got rid of it. So I don't really have a lot of really good experience to give you guys on night vision because I just don't use it.
Of course, Carrie's trying to help you. He's like, being a Texan is more of a state of mind than birth.
Exactly. That's why we come here, is because we're trying to find a place where.
I mean, I don't know. My birth certificate says I was born in Texas, and yours says that you're a Yankee and was born in New York. So I think it even typed on there.
Our values and everything that about us is what's down here. That's why we come here, because we're to find like-minded people.
Oh, okay. That's my job as his wife after 20 years. I have to poke him. Like, that's my job. That's my pastime. That's what I enjoy. Thoughts on Cz Pistols P10 versus Glock?
Well, interesting you were to say that. I just got a notification today that I have a Cz P10F optics ready on the way to do some reviews on. Glock. You're probably gonna get this crazy coming from me. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of change in the industry with Glock. I think Glock has really been able to ride a really good high horse for a long time. I think the loss of the U.S. government contract is going to have a serious effect on Glock's future. If you look at what happened when the M9 was adopted, military or all the police departments, throughout the the country, they switched over to those because that was what the U.S. government used. And a lot of the departments who didn't have the funding or the ability to do their own weapons replacement programs, they went with what the U.S. government did. The P320 has been taking a lot of market share away from Glock. SIG has continued to reinvent itself to bring out new weapons, new weapons platforms. Glock has pretty much been running on the same thing for a long time. And I think you're going to start seeing that affect Glock. I think you're going to start seeing more P320s come out. You're going to be seeing a video coming out on a CMMG, the new Mark 17, which is basically their 9mm radio delayed blowback, but this takes the SIG magazines. One of the things that you're going to hear me say in that video, you're going to be shocked, is I think it's a better idea to buy that than the Glock.
You're not supposed to say what's
magazine
what's in the video.
Oh, I know. And the reason I'm saying is, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more military surplus SIG magazines. You're going to start seeing more of this stuff coming out that's going to be supported by SIG than you're going to start seeing by Glock. So I think a lot of these companies who are starting to reinvent themselves, they're starting to come out with new models. They're starting to give the customers things that Glock is not, because Glock is still giving you what Glock wants to give you, just 9mm, just more of the same old thing. Where other companies are starting to give you more of, you want an ultra compact 9mm that's, here's a P365. You don't get better than that. In fact, my Glock 42 is about to be retired for one of those. So I think you're going to be seeing a lot of the newer guns get more market share. I think you're starting to see Glock starting to swing back instead of starting to go forward.
Heather, you got to get Krista some real Texas barbecue. Rudy's is good, but there's better out. Yeah, there definitely is.
There is. We just haven't.
I don't know. The reason why I took him to Rudy's is because, again, he's going to be so offended, is because he is from, I'm not even going to say the Y word. I'm just going to say you're a New Yorker. And in Texas, you know, we don't eat on like plates and barbecue. You're served on like brown paper and stuff. And like, it's kind of a little bit of a culture shock. And
it was the first time 6 years ago. It's not anymore.
But you know, the best barbecue places are ones that kind of look like rundown shacks, and you're like, I don't even know, like, you know, if this building's gonna hold up. That's where you go for barbecue, because it's never about the building. It's always about what they're doing in the back. Chris has tried to barbecue a few times.
Yeah, pretty damn successful too.
You were. You make a mean hot dog.
She's horrible. That's bullshit. I made some very good briskets.
Love you guys on the channel. Just wanted to say I don't care for Colts, but I bought two 6940s after watching your videos in the model.
The 6940 is Colt's crown jewel, and I will say that, and I'll say it over and over and over and over. That is Colt's finest hour of their M4 program. And I was there during that development. I own a couple myself. In fact, one of my go-to rifles, I'm looking right at it right now, is Nelly 6944, which is a 14.5-inch barrel. That is an awesome combat rifle, and you will never go wrong with that rifle.
They said never ask how the hot dog is made. Carrie's right. Butcher paper and only 3 items: brisket, ribs, and sausage. Yes. Thoughts on 7.62x25 and bottleneck pistol ammo?
That is a pretty brutal cartridge. That, if you're looking for one of the most powerful pistol cartridges that are in semi-automatic pistol, there you have it. I'm sure a lot of you guys watch some of these videos where you see body armor, and you see the 7.62x25 can do a number on a number of body armors and go through them. It's a very, very high penetrating cartridge. The problem is most of the guns that it's chambered for are antiquated. The Tucker pistol, a relatively crude made pistol, single action. That's a cartridge that I think if you would see some of these manufacturers make a more modern version of it, could bring a lot of life back into it, because it is an excellent cartridge. It is a powerful cartridge. And I think with modern propellants, modern projectiles, you could do some pretty awesome things with it.
I've been watching some videos on the Vegas shooting. Lots of my grunt buddies and myself believe the rate of fire and tone was a belt-fed 7.62. Is there a way to match the sound or rate of fire width? I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be. Rate of fire on an AR-10 platform.
The sound of a 5.56 versus a 7.62, there's no mistaking it. If you have a trained ear for any soldier, it's just like, you can tell an AK-47 from an M16. You can tell a bullet going Mach 3 from one that's slower. What I heard on those videos, no, that was 5.56. That was not a 7.62 NATO. No way. And you have to understand too, rate of fire with a bump var stock. He was spraying. This was not aim fire. If you were looking at the distance that they were at, you wouldn't get aim fire with that. He was spraying the area down. And with that rate of fire, there's a lot of things that still to this day don't make sense to me. You look at somebody being able to, you have to hold a bump fire stock to get it to work, and to have those heavy magazines and to fire that many of them, that'd be awfully damn fatigued. You'd have to have Schwarzenegger to do something like that. There's a lot of things that don't make sense to me about that, just from a forensic standpoint, and also just from a human standpoint of how he's able to get that many rounds off one person with bump stocks. But there was nothing magical about the way he shot. The way the shot was, it was spray and pray. There was no aim shots. But no, those were not 7.62. There's no question in my mind about that.
This guy says he's smoking a turkey and prime rib for Christmas. I normally do the Texas Southern way and do a Christmas gumbo. This year we're doing it a little bit different in honor of my father-in-law. in his passing this year. We're doing the Italian Feast of the Seven Fishes. So we've been coming up, and of course that'll have a Southern twist to it too, and probably a way that he never imagined. It's going to be a combination of Italian and Southern. Chris is going to be making linguine and clam sauce, and then I'll be doing some crab cakes and some other, more Southern things in there. So we've never been a turkey people for Christmas, though.
No, I mean, in my family, we're Italians, so we always had the prime ribs, and we had the
we did prime rib for New Year's.
Yeah. Don't. There's a couple down there with. Yeah.
Is the new Gen 5 safety plunger striker interface as safe and durable as 1 to 4?
It's more durable. That was one of the improvements of the Gen 5. You have a much more much stronger firing pin safety and more locking surface on the firing or than striker. So it's actually better. It's improved.
Lots of questions still about the pistol brace. We talked about that. If once the chat's done, you can rewatch it from the beginning, and he tells his thoughts around the first few minutes of it. Is the Galil Ace pistol worth the money in 5.56 or 7.62?
5.5 for a pistol to 5.56. 7.62s do not make good pistols. I had a couple of them. In fact, the last one I had was it was a Diamondback. It was a 7.62 NATO .308 pistol. It's just pointless. The amount of recoil, the amount of muzzle flash from the unburned propellant, it's just absolutely useless. The 5.56, if you want to go with the Galil type, I would definitely take a look at the Galil pistol. I don't think there's any available at the moment, but ATI is doing a Galileo pistol, which is a really nice one. But no, SBRs do not belong in 7.62 NATO. I would not go below 14.5 for a 16-inch barrel on that. No way.
Any truth to the 13629 marked Colt barrels and the new Colts actually being made by FN and just assembled by Colt?
Oh no, FN is not a subcontractor for Colt. I don't know everything, and if I would be utterly shocked if any parts came out of FN and was using with Colt. The 13629, that is a requirement now of the U.S. government. They got rid of the the alpha alpha codes in favor of the cage codes. So that's a U.S. government requirement now. So that's why everybody is doing it. I don't. The FN and Colt never had a good relationship, especially after FN took the contract in 1985, and when they couldn't get the guns working at FN, when the government basically forced Colt to send engineers to help FN get those guns up and running. Yeah, there was never any kind of a love affair between the two companies, and I don't see any kind of business being done between the two of them.
Somebody's asking if Glock in Georgia is permanently closed.
I don't know where you would have heard that from, dude. Glock, they're pulling 3 shifts last I knew, making guns there because there's not so much for American. Most of the guns made in the American plants are guns that are being exported because there's places that you can't export from in Austria, in Austria, but you can from the U.S. No, I don't know where you would have heard that from. That makes no sense, especially with the gun craze right now.
Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. Thoughts on the Sig Rattler?
I always get shit from you guys to talk about my big hands. My big hands don't like that pistol grip. And if I also do recall, the Rattler was the one that you can't put.
Somebody said it was vulgar that you kept mentioning.
You also don't have a way to replace the muzzle device on that. The muzzle device is part of the barrel. So those are the 2 things I don't like about it. Other than that, it's excellent. Myself, I will go with the Sig MPXK over the Rattler. Myself, as you guys know, I am a big MPX fan. I have, they're making me more of the 8.5-inch SBRs, which I absolutely love and adore. That would be my go-to. I think that's probably the best 9mm SMG that's available in the world right now.
Opinions on rifles made by Christian Arms.
I had tried getting some of those guns about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, and I could never get anything sent to me. They never really returned my phone calls, so I sort of gave up on them. So unfortunately, I can't really give you any kind of a real answer on that.
What are the odds of a new pistol in 7.62 by 25?
Really pretty. I really have never heard anybody talk about it. I think it would be a good thing to do. The problem is the way that you would have to make the grip. It would not be very comfortable for a lot of people, unless you did have really big hands, where you could have that 2x4 feel of that pistol grip. I just think that the round has a tremendous amount of potential still to this day, if somebody was to modernize it.
Do you think we'll ever see a Glock Gen 5 19C or any Gen 5 in a compensated variant?
Unless some military or police department asks for it, I doubt it. That's the one thing about Glock now. Glock is not listening to the commercial market any longer. They are all military and law enforcement based. The military and law enforcement have no use, period, for compensated guns. Those are strictly for the commercial and the competition market, and that's not whose Glock's intent is at the moment. So I highly doubt it.
Thoughts on the super short 5.56 and a 7.5-inch barrel?
No, absolutely not. The minimum barrel I would go with is a 10.5. You have too much issues with reliability going below that. I don't. The guns are not meant to operate that. If you were to look at a pressure curve list, it shows you what your port and chamber pressures are at that. Not to mention the fact that you have the extreme flash that comes out of the unburnt. Yeah, no, that's. I would avoid anything below 10.5 inches.
We have a video on the PSA AK-74, don't we?
No, that one is going to be coming up.
Oh, that's the one that's coming up. He wants to know your thoughts on it. We're going to have a video on that soon.
Yeah.
And just to let y'all know, this is my time where I usually take off 2 weeks. Chris hates it. He hates this time of year.
Yeah.
This is where I take off for 2 weeks and try to enjoy the holidays.
And I get bored to death and not find anything to do.
with the family. You can hang out with me. I'm excited.
You can watch The Real Housewives and all those shows.
You're so mean. But I will not be leaving you guys hanging. We have 4 videos that are scheduled. The next one on this Saturday will go up is the crime series. Then we also have a video that will go up on Christmas Eve. A video that will be up on New Year's Day. And I believe the one on Christmas Eve is the Colt LMG.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to really enjoy that one.
And then we have one January 1st.
That's the CZ 999.
999. And then we have a POF on January 3rd. So Carrie says, go get Waterberg. Don't tell him that.
I do. We've discussed that today. She told me no.
Somebody asked that too. They wanted to know what your go-to meal was. I get that question all the time. People email me that, and I always tell them because I order for him. I just order on the app. He always wants a double Whataburger with cheese and jalapenos, and he adds ketchup,
bacon.
And then he also really loves the chicken sandwich that they have. It's supposed to be a barbecue chicken sandwich, but he doesn't have the barbecue on it. He puts the buffalo on it.
Buffalo sauce, yep. That's me.
Why didn't you just zoom the camera out and include both of you? You must be new to the channel.
Yeah. She's like Wilson from Home Improvement.
You're lucky you got this much of me. Normally you don't get anything. No, it's his show. I just facilitate it.
He's the one that runs it all. I'm just a boob in front of it.
I just record it, edit it, put it up, market it, do all that. And I'm looking forward to having a couple weeks off. I won't say that we won't have a Q&A over the next couple weeks, because 3 weeks would be a long time. Carrie says it's better than your elbow. Thanks, Carrie. Yeah. But I am looking forward to some time off, and I might be more willing to do a Q&A next week or the week after, after I've had some time off. I've been working very, very, very long hours. I stopped working at 1 a.m. I stopped working at 1 a.m. But I'm happy to say that every book is out. All of you that order Black Rifle 2, I've shipped out about 100 Black Rifle 2 books in the last 3 months. So it's been a lot, but they're all gone, and patches will be here on Friday, which is a little bit earlier than I was anticipating, which is awesome. We do still have some of those from half of them are gone from the pre-order. These are the PVC patches with the Velcro backing that you guys love, that you can put on everything. Chris, actually, this is actually Chris's from
just took it off my jacket.
His jacket, because this is the last run that we did. So, and then we have the patch, the embroidered patches on his shirt that are iron-on, and those are $7.50 each. And then regular patches are $15 each. I hate you. He's so annoying. The rum has hit him now. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I hope everyone has a really Merry Christmas. I don't know that we'll be here next Wednesday. I don't know yet. Maybe we'll see you before the holidays again. But
thank you very much. And like I said, hopefully you really enjoy those videos that are coming up, because you got some good ones. Take care.